Ray Haycraft here with the Butcher Babies at Welcome to Rockville in Jacksonville, Florida. How are you guys doing so far?
We're awesome. We love festivals, so we're happy to be here. And this is one of our favorite festivals.
That's awesome. And you all have a very full summer, and you're hitting Carolina Rebellion next week, correct?
We are. We're hitting all the festivals in the next month and a half, and it's 5 of the festivals. And in the middle of all that, of course, we're doing a co-headliner with Nonpoint, who's a really, really fun band. We've also got Sumo Psycho and Cane Hill on the bill. So from the moment the stage starts up on our tour, it's just party all night long.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So Lilith hit not too long ago. It's still really fresh. Fans are loving it. It is, I would say, your most honest and raw record thus far. As a fan, like, I was stoked for it. It's more the Butcher Babies, like it feels like you all wanted it to be. Can you talk a little bit about what's different about Lilith?
Sure. We call it kind of a rebirth and a cleansing of Butcher Babies for a lot of different reasons. And just one major thing is that we actually had time to write this album. We took a year off to do it. And our other albums, we had kind of sporadically written them on the road because we were touring so heavily from the time that we started. So we could actually, have time to breathe, let the material breathe, spend time writing, throwing stuff out, rehashing it, and bringing it back. And we also have a new drummer, Chase, over here, this handsome fella. And he comes from a little bit of a different musical background, so we were able to kind of broaden our horizons a bit from music we had made in the past, just because of him. And when you're allowed to be a little bit more free, all of us have such a varied taste in music. When you're allowed to run with different ideas a little bit more, the end result is just something that is just so much more mature and focused than previous years. And even lyrically, Heidi and I have pretty much grown up together on the road. And while with previous albums we talked a lot about, our youth or experiences we had when we were young, this album was kind of like the story of us becoming women together, strong women together. And we touched on so many experiences and themes that we couldn't have 6-7 years ago because we hadn't had the experience of touring. We hadn't felt the feelings that you feel while touring. So this album is very well-rounded in a number of different ways.
It's very dynamic as well. So you have a lot of cleans, you have a lot of like really aggressive, and one of my favorites is Burn the Strawman. Can you talk a little bit about what the lyrical content is for that one?
Excuse me, sorry. Lyrically.
Also drums.
Lyrically, that song is really cool. It started from a conversation. My father was on our bus in Detroit one night, and we have a fan that always comes to the shows and gets annihilated, blasted. We love him to death. His name is Gene.
Hi, Gene.
And we always invite him on the bus because he's just such a character. But my father and this Gene character are two people that would never speak to each other outside of the realm of, happen to be on the same bus. And my dad's, I think he was smoking a little reefer that night. Gene was drunk, and my dad goes, "Hey, man, have you ever heard about a straw man?" And he starts having this conversation with Gene about this straw man fallacy, which is this idea that when you're born, you're not really a person, you're a kind of a document, and you belong to the government. And it's kind of an interesting thing if you want to look it up, straw man. But my dad was really into it. I never even thought of my dad as, being into anything political, so it was interesting for me to watch the connection between these two guys talking about this. So I went and researched it, and then me and Heidi wrote a song about it. And musically, it's a pretty awesome.
Yeah. It's like Smudger.
Musically, Burn the Strawman is my favorite song to play in our set right now.
Awesome.
I like to play a lot of interesting rhythms and a lot of ghost notes. The job of drums is to be the most dynamic, is to control dynamics and tempo. So I try to not go outside the lines too far, but also try to play as much cool stuff as I can inside the lines to keep it fresh. Yeah.
And you have a jazz background, correct?
You could say that. Yeah, I play a lot of jazz. Sure.
What about Korova? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Give me that back. Just kidding. Korova is an awesome song as well. Henry had actually come up with the name Korova, and he's like, let's use it for an album title. We didn't end up using it for an album title, but Heidi and I researched Korova, which means cow in Russian. And a Korova is like if you're in a Siberian prison and you want to escape, because obviously it's just, if you're in a Siberian prison, you're probably going to die there. You want to escape, you befriend someone who is unsuspecting, maybe someone who's a little bit larger. You take this person with you with the intent that you can kill them and eat them if the Siberian winter is too harsh and you can't get across the frozen tundra alive together. So this poor person has no idea the whole time that they're your Korova, essentially. We thought that was just such a dark theme to write about. Such a cool thing. It's the ultimate backstab, and that song is and it's also very beautiful. A great melodic chorus with the old familiar thrashy Butcher Baby's vocals in the verses. So very cool song.
It's a great song.
It's great.
Good music. We like them. They're great. Oh, I love that song. I love when you all are able to bring in the melodic hooks. You talked a little bit, I read another interview, you talked about the production of the album being a more raw production and less auto-tune, less like smoothing things out and more this is who we are. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. We worked with Steve Evans, who's an incredible producer and human being. We always wanted to have a Butcher Babies record that captured our live energy, our live sound, and that was very authentic. And he was the perfect guy to do that for us. We knew that as soon as we met with him the first time. And on this album, there is essentially no auto-tune whatsoever. So all the vocals that you hear are what we actually sing, which is very rare nowadays. Out of laziness, maybe, or out of just, people I think are trained to hear auto-tune nowadays and like it. But we really enjoyed going in there and working very hard on our vocals and the harmonies and making them perfect. And by the time it was time to play these songs live, they already sounded great because we had gone over them so many times in the vocal booth. And, when you're in a situation like that with a producer, sometimes you want to kill them because you just want to get the hell out of the booth. And it's very demanding, but at the same time, it makes you grow as an artist, as a person. It makes you hone your craft even more, and it's, I think, essential.
That was good, Carla. Now just do it one more time like you mean it.
That's exactly what he did.
You see what I put up with?
No, Steve was a stickler, and if even one thing was a tiny bit off, he would make you do the entire part again. So everything on there is long takes, like very little edits. Everything is pretty. He wouldn't they do a lot of sample replacing for drums. He did no sample replacing.
That's awesome.
At all. And everything is very organic.
That's
on
awesome.
The record, yeah.
Now, you all are known for your, I would say, energetic is not a strong enough word, live performances. How do you bring that into the studio when you have to be standing in front of a mic that is just like...
That was hard. It was hard at first when we first started recording. The studio was very difficult for us to do that. We tried different things. We tried actually holding the mic instead of having it. I think
and then you get noise.
That was the hardest thing for me because when you're in the studio, your microphone is propped up, and when you're live, obviously you're holding it. It just feels different. But over the years, we've learned how to channel it into the studio. And also, if you're writing about things that you're passionate about, I think that energy comes kind of naturally when you're in the studio. When you have a producer pushing you, and even that anger at the producer sometimes kind of helps out a little bit. When you're like, God, I wish this guy would just get off my back. Put that into the music.
Just a lone tear every now and again.
So many tears.
No tears in the studio.
No tears.
So many tears for us.
Another great thing you all put out recently for International Women's Day, that hilarious video about what it's like to be, and you guys got to take center stage. What was that like, and how did that come about?
I believe everyone just kind of came up with the idea on the spot, right? It wasn't pre-planned.
And then we all kind of wrote it together
tried our hand at video comedy.
Yeah, slapstick.
Hey,
it worked.
All right.
We were so proud of the boys.
Yeah.
One take.
I still have trouble with jars.
I hate spiders.
That was great.
And I still leave tanning spray on the toilet seat.
Yeah.
Oh, it does happen. So I refrain from asking any questions of how tired are you of answering the same questions. Now, did you get a response from that video from fans or from other bands that have felt the same way?
I think that everyone enjoyed it. I think it was a tongue-in-cheek, really fun little thing to do, and it definitely went over well.
Yeah.
It was like Spinal Tap meets The Office. Kind of
It was, yeah.
I love it. Anything else you'd like to tell fans about what is coming up, what they can look forward to beyond seeing you on the road all summer?
Just go get Lilith if you haven't gotten it already. We're really proud of it. I think we've come light years from where we started, 9 years ago with Lilith, and it's such a great album. And we also have a new single out on the radio called Look What We've Done. So call up your local radio stations and request it. We've got a video for that coming out very soon, and come see us on the road.
Any words of wisdom from you all?
No words of wisdom from me.
No.
I got
No wisdom. No wisdom. There's no wisdom here.
Don't get in a band with 2 girls. Don't do it. Don't do it. Run. Just kidding. They love us.
Engineering degree is probably a good idea.
When your parents tell you to stay in school, do it. Just
Go
kidding.
out to a show, support live music. Thank you all so much for taking time with us today, and have a great rest of your festival.
Thank you.